International Limited. Chooday is a successful Christian businessman involved in real estate and construction. He received his BS degree at the University at Benin and a postgraduate program in regional and urban planning in the University of Nigeria. Chooday gave his life to the Lord Jesus Christ in 1985, 1 year before me, and received the baptism of the Holy Spirit in October of 1986. During a Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship's second national convention in Lagos, Nigeria. Chooday, who sought peace in different places, finally found and experienced the peace of God that passes all understanding after baptism of the Holy Spirit, and has never been the same. Chooday is also founder and president of Cape Ministries. He writes and distributes Christian tracts, preaches in churches and Christian gatherings, both in Nigeria and internationally. He is in the board of directors of different ministries. Also, the Lord uses him to fund ministers and ministries for advancement of the kingdom of God. Chooday will be sharing about God's amazing grace and how God has kept him by his power in line with his name. Chooday, meaning kept by God, which was prophetically given to him after being delivered from death during his birth. His life is a true testimony of one kept by the power of God against all odds. Chooday? Bless you, brother. Look forward to it.
Good afternoon, all. I thank God for the privilege of sharing what He has done in my life. It's been a wonderful journey so far. Amen. And we're still in the middle of it. I was born at a time that just before Nigeria went into a civil war. And during that war, I was a toddler. But during my birth, I was told that when I was coming out into the world, that I had umbilical cord around my neck. And so then the doctors would ask my mom to push. She was young and strong, she would push. And I would come out, and they would see me coming out, and I'll go back in. So it was odd. You know, they didn't know why I would come out with my hair, and go back in. You know, until she now pushed, and the doctor saw that the cord was around my neck. It was strangling me, and they told her to wait. So they cut it off, and I came out. I came out, not crying, ready to face the world. There was no cry, but the doctors had to make me cry. They had to turn me upside down and beat my back. So at least I cried. And that assured them that this was not a dumb baby. So that was that for my birth, you know. While the war raged, like I said, I was a toddler. I remember a time, actually the first imprint of what an aeroplane looked like to me in life was that, you know, those civil wars, they were bombing everybody, civilians. It's not like going out to the war front to fight. It was like trying to exterminate a certain people from Nigeria, the Igbos. By the way, like I say, I'm from Nigeria. My name, that name, Chooday, is actually Chukwudebelo. It's a short form of Chukwudebelo, which means kept by God. So, I remember this first imprint. My mom, I think, was bathing me, and here the plane came, you know, came into where civilians were, people were running into the bush and all that. So she took off, she had a scarf that she tied around me, and she ran out to go take cover. And the picture that I have, you know, that I've always had, maybe 3 years old, 2 years old, I'm not sure, 3 years maybe, is that I saw something that looks like an iron, you know, like the iron stuff, just went over her head, and that was it. And then she just stopped because I fell while she was dragging me to run. When I fell, she stopped. And the thing went right over her head and kept going. I guess the pilot decided to be merciful to us. God, normally they would spray their bullets and bomb everybody. But that didn't happen to us, so we survived. I went right back into the house. So, the war ended in 1970. And we were still very young when the war ended. I had a lovely childhood after the war, but I was very timid, you know. Children that came out from the war, you didn't know much. We started school. As a matter of fact, when we started schooling, I started school very young. I remember once that they asked me, you know, when we got into school, they said, well, you go write your name and your surname. I had to go to my elder brother to ask him what our surname was, you know. So we had a lovely childhood, it was good, but I left home very early. My dad was the kind of man that would want you to face the world. So before I got to age, before I celebrated my 10th birthday, I was already out of home, going to secondary school, to high school. And it was not a funny place to go. I mean, the high school thing, well, it's not like people like in this place go from their homes and all that. We traveled hundreds of miles away from home and we had to live there, you know. And so at such a young age, it was tough living home, you know. Those who were the senior people in our school were those that stopped school during the war. And so you could imagine a 10-year-old, you know, being thrown into where these ex-soldiers were. So it was tough. And we had a lot of things that, you know, letting a child go very early can be devastating sometimes, you know, in a bid to train the child well. We had things that were able to break our emotions, you know, made us scared of things, you know, but we survived. We survived, and before I celebrated my 16th birthday, I was out of high school. But certain things have taken their toll, you know. Emotion-wise, I would say I was an anxious person. You know, I suffered anxiety. I was, you know, I lacked peace. All my life I was looking for peace. You know, even worse than when I got to the university. Somebody here has been to where my university was. She said she went to Nigeria and that she was in Benin. I was at the University of Benin. And things were not easy. Things were still tough. Tough environment, no hostel accommodations. Good thing, my dad, you know, got me a car, so I had a car. The car served sometimes as my accommodation. I had my towel, my bucket, my stuff in the boot of the car. Sometimes you could drive to certain spots when you got so late, and then you park your car somewhere beside the school and sleep. And the next day you find a place, take a shower, and go to class. You know, so it was tough. So many things we are busy taking their toll. Sometimes you will sit in what we call the common room, the birthday, you know, and you will read until you're tired, and then you pretend you're overreading. Meanwhile, you're waiting for the night to be over. And when the night is over, you go straight to class. And so those things made me very anxious. It took their toll. It was not the regular what do we call regular development of a young man. And so I always knew, for some reason, I wanted peace. I looked for peace everywhere. I looked for something to calm me. You know, I would take, you know, antidepressants. You know, I would take even heavy doses and would not sleep. You know, I would keep awake. They were just good enough to keep me calm, but not to sleep. But they were heavy doses. It was bad. I won't dwell so much on that. It was a bad situation. Even in class, it affected my studies, you know, but there was nothing I could do. Meanwhile, the university days was still far away from home. You know, I was, like I said, by my 10th birthday, I was already out of home. So every of these things I'm telling you, they were far away from home. Home was only when we had holidays. And so, my search for, I always knew somehow that if I had God inside of me, that I'll have peace. I always knew that. You know, and then I think it was during my final year, I drove home, you know, and I used to do some crazy things too. You wouldn't know where Enugu is, but it's a very dangerous journey from Benin to Enugu. I used to do those trips. I would leave Benin by 7 in the evening, and I'll arrive in Enugu by sometimes 11 in the night. And my dad was not he was not the loud or talking type. He would just look at you and say, listen, Chooday, you came back late. And that would be it. You know, so I used to do those things, but there was this instance. I went home with a friend of mine from school. He just accompanied me. When I got home, I noticed my dad was in the hospital. We saw him and went back. When we were going back, we came to a place called Omunede. It was a junction, you know, some boundary town. Omunede, the boundary driving into a place called Abo. And it was drizzling. Light drizzle. It wasn't anything serious. I wasn't speeding. I just tapped on my brake, just slow down a little. And the next thing I knew, the car spun around and fell into a ditch. You know, spun right around on the road there and fell into a ditch. And my friend was like stunned. Everything stopped. It was just the music playing. Our jazz music was playing in the background, and we were like, what just happened? And this was highway, dangerous highway where trailers, you know, all sorts of very heavy vehicles fly. And my friend was stunned and suddenly he just said, open the door. You know, he got hysterical. I said to him, shut up, my friend. You know, and you know, in a few minutes, people just gathered, lifted the car out of the ditch, and we got somewhere that to fix our exhaust. But there was this remark that somebody from there made. He said, listen, you know this road? Somebody from one of the people that gathered. You know this road? If you come to this road, you need to be very careful. Even if, he said this, even if Jesus Christ stands on this road and says, wait, give me a lift, run him over. And he didn't mean anything to me. So they fixed our car. We got back late in the night. We got back to the school about 9:30. And I told my friends what happened. So this friend of mine took me to another friend who was a Christian. He wasn't really my friend, but he was a Christian. I knew he was a Christian. He was quiet, reserved, good guy. So when we met him, I said, listen, why don't you guys pray for my dad? My dad is in the hospital. And the guy just said to me, okay, kneel down. And he just prayed a short prayer. It's now I realized it wasn't my dad he prayed for. He actually led me through the sinner's prayer, but it didn't mean anything to me. So that was that. And for some reason, after a while, I started attending their fellowship. There was this Anglican youth fellowship. I would go to their fellowship. I would understand what they are doing. I would sit down with them. And the very first time I attended, I listened to a young girl, you know, a student, talk about love. By the way, at this time, my father was already an ordained Anglican minister. And I listened to a young girl talk about love, and I just said to myself, what this guy is saying is deep, is different from, you know, because when my dad and the rest of the ministers in the Anglican communion, when they talk, I listen to them, but sometimes I don't bother listening to them. My dad wasn't the first kind of person. As long as you're doing well, he won't bother you. He was an Anglican reverend, but then he wasn't born again. He will not ask you to go to church. He won't force you. It was your deal. If you wanted to go to church, you get up and go to church. If you don't, it's your business. And so, but he was just like that. You know, he wasn't the pressuring kind of person. So then I listened to this girl and I said to myself, this is not quite like what I'm used to. And she would talk and be doing like this, love is this, love is. And I said, what's this? But that was it. You know, I was gradually inching towards the Lord. You know, and then after a while, you know, we used to gather around and pray with that friend that prayed for me. If I did anything wrong, I would go to him and say, listen, Ben, he would just tell me, Chooday, it doesn't matter, don't worry about what you did wrong. That's not the issue. If I do something again wrong, I'll just go to him. And then he was like, living a fasted life. You know, at a time, we try to live like him. You know, we'll skip our meal, or we'll hide and eat. You know? So this went on and on until we left the university. And a cousin of mine came. I still needed peace. Peace was still my goal. A cousin of mine came from Connecticut, and he had these books on transcendental meditation, breathing, and all that. I would read them, I would do all the breathing, try, you know, breathing exercises, breathing, transcendental meditation. Sometimes you will have something that looks like peace. Other just doing abnormal breathing. So one day, a friend and a schoolmate of Doris's came to the house and invited her for a full gospel program. This was in 1985, 86. This was in 1986. Was it 86? 86. Good. And Doris and I, we've always been very close. She said, Chooday, take me, let's go. We went. And so, the full gospel meeting was not like this. It was unusual. It was
Noisy.
Very noisy, boisterous, noisy. And there was this man, big tummy. He was, and then I had gone a little deep into transcendental meditation. And I looked at them and I said to myself, oh man, I'll be talking nonsense. He's too fat to be spiritual. And because our thing was you have to live close to the bones and all that. And so the man would talk and put his hand in his pocket, and he had on the Nigerian attire, he would brag and boast, and then he asked people to come down if they wanted to receive whatever he said. I wasn't listening. And so Doris was sitting next to me, and she started walking down. And I said to her, where are you going? She was like somebody who was hypnotized. And she was just going. And she went. And I was watching her for her. The next thing, the place was so rowdy. People were falling down. The next thing, I didn't see her head again. She had fallen. And I came to where she was. And looked at her. I had seen prayer for people before. Because remember, I got mixed up with my friends in school who were Christians. I had seen people slain in the spirit and all that. I looked at her. I said, okay, she's still fine. And I went back to my seat. When she came back, she just came back, called me and said, let's go, let's go. She didn't even know. I don't think she knew what happened to her. She said, let's go. And I said, okay. And we just went. We didn't stay till the meeting closed, but she had received the baptism in the Holy Spirit. And so that changed everything. My cousin that was talking about transcendental meditation and all that was like, a lot of things started changing. To cut the whole story short, I tilted again towards that side because I already knew about that side. And you know that sometimes Christians can be very gullible. I had a book on the art of meditation written by some guy, I never forget his name, Joel Goldsmith. I think he must have been Jewish because that's the kind of name they answer. Joel Goldsmith. You would think it was a Christian book, but I knew it was not a Christian book. Somewhere in the book, you will see where he will put Buddha. And some Christian friends of mine that saw the book, they wanted to read it, I gave it to them. They read it and the book spread like wildfire amongst them. Boom, 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 from person to person. Before it came back to me. Then I sent it to a leader of full gospel to read the book to check if it was good. He didn't read it. He told me, no, you won't read it. So I knew. But some other Christians, very gullible, they just read the thing. They loved it. They read it and told me, oh, this is a great book. And that was it. But then I now started seeking the Lord, chasing God. Not for anything, not for, but just for peace. I knew that if I get Jesus, I'll find peace. And I would go to fellowships, regular fellowships. One time, that friend of mine that took me to the Christian, even when he was a Christian in school, he was doing some mixing too, But we went for youth service in National Youth Service Corps. And he came back a new man. He was baptized in the Holy Spirit. He said to me, listen, Chooday, some of these things that I was doing, they are wrong. You know, and then we would stay and pray. And one time, we really prayed in the house. You know, and you know, they would lay hands on me to receive the baptism in the Holy Spirit, nothing will happen. You know, so until Second National Convention of Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship in Nigeria, that took place in Lagos in 1986. And I went for that program. It was lovely. I said to myself, if I don't get some kind of breakthrough here, it will be too bad. So we went. I was in youth service, still in youth service. I didn't have any money, but I had a cab that somebody was driving for me. So I was making some extra money from the cab, and I was being paid as an NYSC, that is a youth service. What would be the corresponding thing for it here? Nothing. Is it like serving in the military for a while? Yeah.
1 year military.
1 year military, whatever, after high school. So, good. After university. So, I put the money I had together. We took a flight, and we got to, I stayed in a good hotel, but I didn't have money. You know, I first stayed, I went to the good hotel because I wanted to be where the action was. And we had this program. And here was this minister. You know, there were so many ministers. The first day there was a breakfast meeting. In the breakfast meeting there was this very old missionary known as Elton, S.G. Elton. You know, lovely man of God. I think he's Scottish. You know, so he came, ministered, and then any ministration that touched me, I would get up in answer to all that call. So I listened to Elton. He gave a message in the breakfast meeting, and I got up and he prayed a prayer and he said, I have already given my life so many times to Christ, remember? And the man said, Father, give these people no peace until they find you. And I said to myself, wow, what have I done to myself? I'm looking for peace, and this man is compounding this thing. You know? And so after the meeting, I had read in the little pamphlet of Full Gospel, now that they have received Christ, how that if you wanted to get baptized in the Holy Spirit, after the meeting, you go see the guys that are on the high table and all that. So I went and saw some butter, and you know, they were clearing up. There were a lot of people there, Jerry Barabara, and so many of them. And I went to some butter and said, listen, look at what you guys have on your pamphlet. I need to get baptized in the Holy Spirit. And the man was like tidying up and he said, oh God. It was like he was tied up. He said, what's he doing this night? He said, who is preaching this night? He said, oh, Umobai. He said, tonight is your night. Go, because it was the Holy Ghost night. I said, okay. So I went that night for the meeting. The man preached. He will talk about so many things. He will say some things that will hit me, bam. You know, he will say, listen, you look so tough. I remember one particular word he said. He said, listen, you look so tough, so fierce, and yet, because I remember, I think he preached on Naaman was a general and all that, but he preached on but. So at the time, he was so anointed. At the time, this was 1986. You know, he was